Day 2 with Justin Bieber. We know the arrest, and then we see him afterward. There's the mug shot, the big smile on his face, and there he is jumping on top of the SUV afterward. Again, looks like he feels like he's proud of himself after all of this. So he's having a good time. On social media, many folks having a good time with the memes. That's where you take a picture, some kind of caption, make it funny, clever. And here's what we're getting with Justin Bieber and his mugshot, comparing it to Miley Cyrus. And there you have it. I have right in front of me. Here's without makeup, with makeup, Justin and Miley. They're one and the same. So folks having some fun there. And even more fun with this one. This is a tweet with the picture of a little guy next to his car and the police. And here's what it says. Poor Justin Bieber, allegedly arrested for DUI in Florida, managed to get a pic. So some folks having fun at Justin Bieber's expense. But again, this is serious business. When you look at what he's facing here, facing 3 charges, not to mention the drag racing with his Lamborghini. And he's dropping F-bombs with the cops. So he's facing a resisting arrest without violence, DUI, booze, pot, prescription drugs in his system, and of course driving without a valid license. So let's welcome in our guests as we go deeper into this. Special guest Jason Waller's with us. He was a star of The Hills, also was on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, clean and sober now since 2010. We'll talk to him in a moment. And an old friend of the program, Mark Eiglarsh, returns. And Mark, with a provocative take on this, believes that maybe Justin Bieber got some preferential treatment. What are you seeing, Mark? We know you're in South Florida there. What do you got?
Well, it's not maybe, Mike. I've practiced here in Miami for over 2 decades in the criminal arena, and things were definitely handled differently. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm certainly not judging Justin, and I'm not judging the Department of Corrections that clearly had their hands full. He is a different person. However, anyone else who was booked in at the jail after 9 o'clock wouldn't have seen the judge that same day. They would have seen the judge the next day. Bieber was booked in at the jail at 10:30. Well beyond, an hour and a half after the cutoff time. So that's preferential treatment number 1. Number 2, the time that he heard the judge, he went before the judge and heard about his bond, to the time that he got released, Mike set an all-time record. I'm talking Michael Phelps, Bolt, cheetah fast. I have never seen anyone go from a bond hearing to a release as fast as he did.
It was fast, and we watched it all unfold, and there's some of the video from that. So that is preferential treatment. Well, what does that say about the justice system? Because immediately that's a red flag for many viewers saying, wait a minute, if that's me, that's not happening, and he could get preferential treatment from start to finish. Mark, what do you think?
I'm sure the jail and everyone else involved is aware of that issue. The other side of the coin, and I'm no expert on what happens within the jail, but to have someone like him who you can't put any other prisoners around, they've got this mob scene outside that I'm sure disturbed the jail. They made a decision because he is different and his situation warrants it because of the risk that potentially he poses being in there to let him out earlier, I guess.
Gotcha. All right. Mark, again, always great talking to you. So, Mark, with the insight there from South Florida. Let's bring in Jason Waller again, star of The Hills, was on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, and clean and sober since June of 2010. So, first off, congrats on that. Sounds like you're doing great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey, give us your take on Justin Bieber. Are you concerned, scared for him at all?
It's, something for me personally that I look at, is I feel like he's obviously accumulated a lot of fame and a lot of money, and, something I see a lot of his story in the beginning, just like mine. In the beginning, it's hard to look at this guy who would be an addict, at such a young age. I mean, he's making, poor decisions and stuff, but, it's hard for me. I mean, I had my first arrest at 18, and similar stuff was going on with my friends around me that are normies till this day. So me, it was hard to determine whether he's an addict or not yet. I mean, there's just not enough proof in the pudding for me. I think, personally, if he's receiving these negative consequences and he's not, taking, an initiative to make a change, then there's something to look at down the road. But, overall, I think it's time will tell right now. For me, there's just not enough factual stuff.
Okay, well, from what we've seen, Jason, from what we've seen, we're looking at the video. He's jumping on the car. He's got the big smile in the mugshot. You surmise from that, at least I do, that he doesn't get it. Do you? I mean,
I think he's got to take it, much more serious. Obviously, he's young. He's got so much access. He's got so much money. He's got a lot of fame. I related to this personally on a much smaller scale. But for me, I was in myself not thinking that I was going to be able to get out of everything. You know, I don't know what his whole perception on it is, but for me, it was a lot of ego.
Right.
You know, I look at him and I hope that, you know, he takes this and sees that it's, you know, serious, and that he'll be able to, you know, reflect on this and be able to make a change over the next few months. If not, that's when you start to look at, if he's still getting in trouble, you know, we got to look at the, you know, the path that he's taking. That's where you can determine addict behaviors and stuff.
Yeah, you know, and that's what my hope is. Like everybody's hope is that this is the rock bottom moment for him, and he begins to make some better choices. But from what we're seeing, that may not be the case. You said something a moment ago, Jason, about the friends around you as you were getting in some trouble. What kind of friends did you have? Did you have anybody in your circle that would say, "Hey, Jason, knock it off," or was everybody, "Oh, let's party with Jason"?
I had a lot of coattail riders, you know what I mean? There were a lot of people that weren't telling me what I wanted to hear, or necessarily were, you know, they were not giving me the best, you know, info or knowledge for the next step. They were just kind of like, you know, let's go party. After I get in trouble, they'd call me, "Hey, it's all good, man. Let's go do this again." You know,
just along for the ride, it sounds like.
It was, and I really believe, you know, he's got to have, you know, a solid support group around him. You know, I think a lot of people are enjoying this and, you know, maybe potentially egging him on, but you know, I think that he's, you know, I don't know his family or anything, but I mean, I don't know if his, you know, his parents, for me, it seems like they potentially want to be his friend more than, you know, than parents. And I think that he just needs to have a solid support group around him. You know, that's hard because it's hard to be able to, you know, tell somebody of that stature what to do. You know, it's a hard thing to do, but
he needs it.
Time will tell.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs it. Hey, we all need a little accountability in our lives. Hey, last one. Bring us home with the consequences in your life for the decisions you made, the trouble you got into, and basically how much it cost you.
I mean, for me personally, I mean, it took me to a spot of, you know, I believe addiction is you know, it's a disease. I mean, it took me to a spot where, you know, I didn't contemplate, but I attempted suicide. I mean, it brought me all the way down to where, you know, I've seen so many people suffer and lose lives over this. And something for me personally, I take, you know, wholeheartedly that if you don't treat it, it will kill you. And, you know, for me, I've seen too many people die. You know, it's an epidemic. You don't have your average 40, 50, 60-year-old dying of alcoholism anymore. It's your 13, 14, 15-year-old dying of opiates, you know, pills. And it's just the accessibility is too much. And, you know, my whole thing is I'm trying to raise awareness and show that, you know, life is, there's a big, bright light at the end of the tunnel of being sober and enjoying a life like that. You know, for me, I didn't think I could live without drugs or alcohol. But
Jason, that's a great
message.
Today,
my life is much better.
Well, and we're happy for you. It sounds like you're doing great and really turned things around. And thanks for lending that insight. That's what we need to know, what he could be going through. And our hope is he turns things around before there is the real rock bottom moment. We hope this was just it. Jason, thanks again. Gosh, we appreciate your time.